Hello and welcome back to the Dharma.life podcast. I'm your host, Aloise.life, and this week we are talking about why you should clear your Akashic record. I realised I get a lot of questions about what you can expect when you have an Akashic record reading, and I realised I hadn't really done an episode on why you should clear your Akashic record and what the benefits of clearing your Akashic record are, and even what is your Akashic record. So in this episode, you will learn what is an Akashic record and how and why you should access it, and really why and what the benefits are you can expect if you have someone like me help you clear your record. So my name is Aloise.life, and every week I release videos that help you move from 3D to 5D and build a life in alignment with your soul. So if you're watching my channel, the chances are you are spiritually awake and aware. Congratulations. Lovely to have you on the journey. And I just want to remind you that this is a really poignant time in humanity's history. And if you're here, you're probably a star seed or a spiritual seeker, and you really came to escape the samsaric loop this time. And we can absolutely do that this time around with the right guidance and the right community. And that is one of my aims. You know, the work that I'm doing on the planet is to help you guys create the most incredible life. Also do your spiritual work, because we need to be the change we wish to see in the world. Because as we do our internal work, remember the microcosm and the macrocosm, as we work internally here, externally will get better. So the more and more people that spiritually awaken, and the more people that really commit to being a spiritual seeker, the better the planet will get. So I want to thank you, first of all. If you're still listening, well done. Now is the time. Now is the time for you guys to really commit to your spiritual path. It is the most incredible journey you'll ever take. The signs, the synchronicities, you will just be blown away. And also, this is such an incredible time to do this work, because you will have this support and this guidance from the highest aspect of yourself. And you won't slip into the kind of 3D fear matrix that is out there. So why should you clear your Akashic record? Well, first of all, what is your Akashic record? So if you imagine the quantum field exists, and anybody and everybody can tune into this quantum field, or another word for it is the Akashic record. It's basically a plane of existence where information and truth is held. Now, the more you raise your vibration, the more you connect to your higher self, the more accessible getting information from the Akasha is, because you are in tune, you're able to tune into it, you're able to download from it. And so if you imagine the Akashic Records is like Google for your soul. In Google, you would type in what you're looking for, what answer you're looking for. We can do that in the Akashic Records. We can type in, why am I blocked with money? What is blocking me in the area of relationships? That is the type of information that we would look into when we work together. You imagine your soul has had many, many lifetimes. Myself, I've had about 25. Some clients come to me about 30. And in those lifetimes, we create blocks and restrictions. We create karma. Now, how karma works is every single action has a frequency and a energy that goes out into the world. So if we have negative karma, we have to repeat that. So remember that life, or your universe, is a mirror. And so every action has a reaction. So if you're putting out negativity into the universe, that negativity will come back. That is why we talk about the virtues. That is why we practice the virtues, because when you are virtuous in every single interaction, it not only lifts you higher and opens your energy centers, but it transcends your karma. So Your job, if you're listening to this, is to be virtuous in every single interaction, and know that the Akashic Records store a memory of your past lives and the karma that you have created in those past lives. So I want to give you some examples. When I got into the Akashic Records, I was struggling in quite a few areas of my life. And I'm going to share with you what those areas were and how working with the Akashic Records has really, really benefited me, because obviously this is available for everybody and anybody. So I went through a process of working with somebody before I learned it. And that was very helpful, very, very helpful, wonderful woman. But when I started to learn the Akashic Records, I was struggling in the area of money. My business wasn't making any money, which I couldn't understand, because in my corporate career, I'd had a very successful corporate career and I'd made a lot of money. As soon as I moved into spiritual work, nada, couldn't make a penny, really odd. I was just struggling in the area of relationships, actually, with my husband. It was just when lockdown started and we were kind of very intense. Everybody was locked up together and we were kind of just really, grating on each other and not getting on like we normally would. I was struggling with my weight. That has been an ongoing challenge for me for most of my life. Some health issues. I had some gut health issues, about my candida health issues. And also in the area of confidence, also in the area of children, actually, but I'll come on to explain that. So what I was able to do is, in these areas that my life didn't look the way I wanted to, and don't get me wrong, this is, I feel very blessed, I feel very lucky, because I have created, through doing this work, through doing this self-development work and personal development work, I have created a really incredible life, and I'm very proud of it. Coming from drug addiction and alcohol addiction in my 20s to now being completely clean and having an incredible life, but I still wanted it all, and I don't think there's any shame in wanting everything. I really don't. I think we're living in this new age where everything is possible. So I started to look into the records, and I started to look at the specific blocks I had, and I started to look, well, why is this working and that wasn't? So for example, in the area of money, as I explained to you, in my corporate career, things were going really, really well, or they went very, very well, until I evolved out of it, because that's what happens. You evolve out of it and you have to keep growing. Now, what I discovered is, having 10 lifetimes as a spiritual teacher in past lives, I had created contract after contract after contract. I had taken vows, I had taken lots of different covenants, basically to say that I wouldn't charge for my teachings. And so obviously in this life, that energy was still running in my energy body, in my programming, in my patterning, coming from the past lives. Now, again, I don't prescribe to being spiritual and poor. As I said, I really believe the more money we have, the more good we can do in the world. And actually, spiritual people need to have the money on this planet right now, not the elite. So I started to look, and I started to undo all of the blocks that I had from past lives around charging for my services. And I'm pleased to say it worked. It really worked. And I went from having no business to a 6-figure business very, very quickly. And that is the type of thing I can support people with. Absolutely, I can help you if there's an area you're struggling with. I looked at my weight. I discovered that I had starved in a past life, and my body didn't want to let go of weight. It was holding onto it because it was scared of literally dying again. Imagine if you starved to death in a past life, then how is that going to impact your soul and its choices? So again, I was able to undo all of those aspects that were holding me back. Very, very powerful. Now, I said about children. Now, it just wasn't happening for me and my husband. And to be fair, it still hasn't happened for me and my husband. But I feel that there is a little soul very close for us. And I was able to see in past lives that I had lost a child in childbirth, and it had created a lot of blocks and restrictions because it was so painful for me to go through that in a past life. Again, my soul didn't want to go through it potentially even vaguely happening in this life. So can you see that you are the sum of your past life and your past life choices? So if there's an area of your life in this lifetime that's not working, the chances are there's something that has happened in a past life that's blocking you in this lifetime. Confidence, always felt really unconfident in myself. Again, I discovered I had like spells and curses. Having been quite an interesting soul, I think I was a spiritual teacher, I was a witch, I was all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff. But consequently, I had curses, covenants, I had black magic, I had all sorts of things which were impacting me. And I've been able to undo all of those things. And this becomes very interesting. At the moment, we've got a lot of people who can't see what is happening. If you're somebody who can see what is happening, fantastic. If you're somebody that can't see what's happening, you may be under some form of black magic. I just had a client recently, we've been supporting her and one of her family members, and fantastic news, the daughter is not now going to go and get the vaccine because we've managed to get rid of the blocks that were holding her back from seeing actually what is happening right now. If you've got black magic on you, you can't see what is going on right now. And that is why half the population get it really clearly and the other half are like, we trust our government, so it's really, really interesting stuff, really, really fascinating. And so the benefits are that you get to wipe the slate clean. Now, massive caveat, you can actually, I should say, you can completely overcome karma purely by action. It just means it's more difficult. It's like running uphill in mud. When we clear you, we're clearing your slate. It's like you're going back to zero. You still have to take the action. It is not a case that I'm a magician and I can go bang and then you get the life you want. No, but combined with aligned action, moving forward, if you're somebody who's completely committed to their growth and somebody who really, really wants to create the best life ever, but there's some things holding you back, this work would be very good for you. Like I've got a few clients who are like go-getters and they just run and they're just going. And that's what I was like, I was like, I'm doing this stuff anyway. I just want to clear the blocks out the way. So that is definitely the benefit of this work, is that where you would have felt blocked before, like for example, I remember clearing out of my record, I was never finished anything. I drove myself mad. And of course, you don't get anything done when you don't finish anything. And there was some block that I had from a past life which was stopping me finishing things. And so I removed it. And of course, now it's much easier for me to go on and finish things and stop procrastinating. So it's interesting, isn't it, how those things can really hold us back if we don't deal with them. So all round, you're kind of shaving off the rough edges that you've created through lifetimes. And what you're doing is you're creating now what you want to happen with a blank slate. You're not carrying your karmic baggage with you, which is then blocking you. So it's very exciting stuff. I do in-person one-to-one sessions, or I do text sessions where people basically get the results over text message if they're in a hurry. I'd recommend, if you want to do it, to come and to have a face-to-face session, because obviously you can really talk through everything. What you can expect is that the first session that we do, if you have a look at my website, it says part 1. It's all about understanding who you are at soul level. It's very important that we work in alignment with our gifts. Everybody has gifts and talents, and it's very important that we exercise them and work in alignment with them, because that makes life easier. Because if we're doing what we love and what comes naturally, it absolutely flows. So for me, communication is the thing. So how I can be successful is through communicating, and because I'm just in alignment in my Dharma. So the first session that we go through is really discussing who you are at soul level, your soul group of origin, which is very interesting because you've got a lot of traits from your soul group of origin. We look at your primary life lessons as well. So what is it that your soul is wanting you to learn at the moment? And we also look at where you are in your spiritual evolutionary path, which is also very interesting because it shows you the work that you need to do next. And then the second session that we would have is where we go in and we clear your blocks. So vows of poverty, vows of suffering, vows of silence. If you are somebody that finds it difficult to express themselves emotionally, or you think of everything that you want to say after the event, chances are you have a vow of silence. So many people I know have a vow, or knew, I should say, because obviously if you're around me, I'll take it off you. So it's very powerful. Vow of poverty, got to get rid of those, because vow of poverty, it will mean that money will come in and then money will go out. So you could earn really decent money, but there's always a bill. There's always something that is taking that money away from you because you've taken this vow of poverty. And energy is very, very powerful. People don't realize, we're energetic beings. We're spiritual, energetic beings having a human experience. So we carry an energetic imprint from a past life. And that is what we are working with. We're working on clearing your Akashic record and your energy body so you don't have those blocks anymore. And also what you're doing is you're reclaiming your power, because when you have a huge amount of karma, it lowers your vibration. As you go through the work with myself, it raises your vibration. And then you are working on a full battery. But when you actually go and do something, you have got a really high vibration. And so that energy pulls in what you want. So it's a very, very, very fascinating process. Now, if you are looking to work together, then you would have to have 2 sessions before we can probably get into like the nitty gritty or get into like the specific issue you've got, because those 2 sessions are like the preliminary work we have to do. And we have to tell you who you are at soul level. We have to get you in alignment. We have to clear the major karmic blocks that you're carrying. And then if there's a specific area that you're like, right, I need to work on relationships. Relationships for me just don't work. I never meet the right person or whatever it is. Then we can go deep in that area. As I said, it's had a real dramatic impact on my relationship. So I discovered with my husband, we'd been married 6 lifetimes. And actually, we'd been married 6 lifetimes, but we'd been divorced 2 of them. This kind of patch that we were going through, it was almost like we were clearing a lot of the past life blocks that we had, which were stopping us. And it's so fascinating because we went through this period where, while I was doing this work, I was really kind of clearing. It was almost like, also how it works is, if you imagine your soul releases information or releases blocks. So you can't clear everything at once. Basically, I usually work with my clients once a month or once every 2 months, because we'll clear, and then it's like you'll work on those blocks, you'll clear them, you'll do different actions, and then more stuff will come through until we reach the end. Now, at the moment, I have cleared 25 lifetimes of my own karma. Yeah, it's quite exciting to think I'm working with no karma whatsoever. That obviously takes time because you've got 25 lifetimes of stuff you've got to clear. But I've really noticed in our relationships totally settled down. It's like all the blocks that we had, because we worked through them and cleared them, it's really enabled the relationship to sort of settle down and be in a really beautiful place as well. So it's very powerful work. I don't think I would have got through life like without it, especially the children stuff. That was very difficult for me because, as a woman wanting a child and then it doesn't happen, it's very painful stuff to go through. But having an understanding that my past lives were influencing me in this life really just helped me get through that. And I feel in a very beautiful place now where I'm just so happy in myself that whatever happens, I'm going to be happy. But as I said, I've got an inkling something's going to happen. But it would have been a very difficult, I know that this is part of my hero's journey. It would have been a very difficult thing to go through without having the access to the Akashic Records. So, beautiful beings, I hope that was helpful. I hope that was beneficial. Anybody can access their Akashic record. You can absolutely access your own Akashic record just via a pendulum and asking to access the Akashic records. What I would say is, why you probably want to work with somebody like myself is just because we've got a frame of reference that's very developed. If you imagine, if you go into the Akashic Records not really knowing what you're doing, it can be quite tricky and quite difficult. And it did take me a full year really to master it. And obviously I've been doing it about 3 years now. So I hope that was helpful. I'd love to know in the comments if any of you have done Akashic Record work, or if any of you have feeling blocked in any particular area. We are going to be doing a Reclaim Your Power challenge soon. So if that sounds of interest, watch out for that. That'll be coming weeks. But if you haven't already, please do subscribe. And thank you so much for being a valued listener to the Dharma Life podcast. We love you, we value you, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you so much for listening to the Dharma Life podcast. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. Please come over and say hello on my Instagram, our Facebook group, and also please let me know what you thought. So if you are listening, please take a screenshot of the podcast that you are listening to. Tag me on Instagram and I will reshare your post, and please let me know what it is that you got out of today's episode. Remember, when we do our Dharma, we are happier, healthier, we live longer, and we have a deep sense of unshakable inner peace.